Milwaukee Road steam locomotive number 261 is a 484 Northern type built by the American Locomotive Company that is still alive on the rails today. It was originally built in 1944 and was classified by the Milwaukee Road as an S3. The winter months for the crews of the 261 are just as busy as the summer. 261's shop is at an ex-Great Northern Locomotive Service facility in northeast Minneapolis. On a cold February afternoon, the locomotive sits snuggled in the cozy surroundings of the shop as the crew performs some annual maintenance to get her ready for the next summer. One of the biggest and most important tasks is the inspection and replacement of the stay bolts. Performing the inspection is crew member Mark Dahlquist. Many other tasks are done besides the replacing of stay bolts, keeping crews busy. The locomotive is thoroughly inspected from top to bottom so that nothing goes unchecked. This process has proved successful as the steamer performs flawlessly each summer. It is taking passengers for exciting excursions. After the jacketing and insulation are removed, the stay bolts are exposed and the inspections are made. The stay bolt's main function is to provide a secure but yet flexible connection between the inner and outer surfaces of the locomotive firebox. Once a stay bolt is determined to be replaced, it is marked. On the right is a newly replaced stay bolt. This is a flexible stay bolt sleeve. It will soon be capped. We get a rare opportunity to view the replacement of the stay bolts. From in the cab, you get a great view inside the firebox and the circulator tubes. The circulator tubes move the water around the fire, creating the steam. Once inside the firebox, we get a different view looking toward the cab. Here we see the circulator tubes, which were a feature of modern steam locomotive design to facilitate maximum heat transfer. These circulator tubes are made out of very thick steel and tolerate extremely high temperatures. Looking toward the front of the locomotive, we see a panel of holes. This is the rear tube sheet. The large tubes are superheater tubes. These tubes allow steam to pass several times through the exhaust gases exiting the firebox, thus superheating the steam for maximum efficiency. Another element to the firebox is the firebox grates on the floor. Coal from the tender is fed into the firebox and rests on top of the grates while burning and creating the intensive heat to boil the water in the circulator tubes and firebox. We now get to see a stay bolt replacement. Crew members outside the locomotive prep the area to be attended to. Steve Sandberg explains to Craig Blechta what is about to be done.
Start there. Well, do this one first. Okay. And then
move down.
What I do is with that air hammer, when I'm ready to start, I'll tap on it twice. You'll hear it. It'll be like this. That means I'm going to start, and when I'm done, I'll just tap on it once.
Okay.
That means I'm done. That means I'm going to the next one down.
Okay.
And then just take this off and put it on down here, and then just take this one off and put it up there, being careful not to ram this into the threads of this one so that you screw it up and then you got to cut the thing back out.
Will this one fit in here?
No.
Okay, I see it.
Inside the firebox again, Steve is prepping the stay bolts for installation.
Now we got these two here, they're ready to go. We'll drive these up. You can tell this is a 1-inch stay bolt, and this is a 1 1/8 inch stay bolt. Right here is where they, at the beginning of the curve, is where they went from 1 inch to 1 1/8. Usually on the crown sheet, they use 1 1/8 stay bolts, and on the side sheets, they use 1-inch bolts on this particular engine. So I guess technically this would be the start of the crown sheet. This would be the side sheets down here.
On the outside, Craig supports the other end of the stay bolt with a heavy counterweight so that Steve is able to drive the other end with a rivet gun. Giving Craig the signal to begin, Steve starts to hammer away.
So you can see how I'm driving that over and I'm pushing that metal so that it's mushing out up against there to seal that water so that the water doesn't leak through there. I'll hammer on it a little more until I get it down nice and smooth, like maybe this one up here. You can see how that's nice and smoothed off there. It's pretty common that a Boilermaker, he maybe put in 200 or 300 of these in a day. That's pretty good. I'll probably work it just a little more here between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, and then that bolt will be in. That's pretty good right there.
And with a one-tap signal to Craig, this stay bolt is in. But it is only one of many that are done each year. Later, Steve and others are cutting old stay bolts out, replacing caps, and performing other odds and ends. Here, Steve is now cutting some metal to be placed in the cab. Meanwhile, Kevin Swanson is putting the final touches on the replaced stay bolts by putting on new stay bolt caps. These caps must be tight to prevent any water leaks, so an extended heavy-duty socket wrench is the tool of choice for this task. Once the new cap is put on the replaced stay bolt, it is marked as done. After months of hard work, springtime is here, and it's time to fire up the 261. Smoke from a freshly lit fire begins to billow out of the stack, bringing the 261 back to life once again. This is the test fire stage, which is necessary to see if all the replaced stay bolts are not leaking. Ed Solinsky is in the cab cleaning the fire and filling the back corners of the firebox. It's hard to imagine sitting inside that firebox now. After building the steam pressure, Ed is now on top of the boiler, preparing to test the low water alarm. The low water test was successful and no stay bolts leaked, so the 261 is one step closer to being ready to roll. Keeping the fire alive, Ed feeds more coal into the corners of the firebox. On the outside, Dick Boulay cleans and inspects the crosshead and piston. After arriving in Willmar, we get a spectacular treat as the 261 is about to be turned around on the turntable in the Willmar yard. This will allow the locomotive to lead the train going back to Minneapolis. After being turned and reconnected to the train, the 261 gets its normal maintenance while on the road. Here, Tim O'Neill, along with Don Crimmen and Bert Bergsdahl, grease the locomotive's vital moving parts. Meanwhile, Mike Schaefer and Mark Majors clean the fire.
Hey, what are you doing, Bob?
With all work complete, we head back to Minneapolis. Now we get a chance to view cab operations in the 261. The engineer on this segment of the trip is Robert Franzen. Tending to the fireman duties is Ed Zielinski. Ed is turning open the stoker, which feeds coal into the firebox. From left to right are the stoker gauge, the steam heat gauge, and the tender level gauge. Since the stoker doesn't distribute the coal to the rear corners of the firebox, Dwayne Galaski hand feeds coal by shovel into the needed areas. Robert leans out the window to get a look at the train as the crew receives its green signal to highball out of town.
Push that 11 yet,
Entering the city of Litchfield, Dwayne Galaski takes over the reins of fireman for a few moments before giving the duties back to Ed. Teamwork between the crew members is very common to give everyone a chance to tend to the many duties. In the town of Waverly, the passengers are unloaded and treated to a spectacular run-by. By popular demand, the passengers wanted another run-by, and the 261 crew delivers, creating lots of smoke for the pictures.